and insist they isolate themselves until they have recovered and are symptom-free. Clean and sanitize frequently touched common surfaces and high-traffic areas in your home and workplace several times a day. Share these guidelines with others and help prevent the spread of illness and maintain a healthy environment. An ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure.
Hi everybody and welcome back to the discussion. My name is Mpoka Shmogwa. I work for the British High Commission in Namibia. And today I'm joined by David Jarrett, who is the head of RDJ Consulting here in Namibia. And he is really my go-to guy when it comes to renewable energies in this country. I think beyond having a wonderful personality, he always makes any discussion something really vibrant. And I look forward to today's discussion as well. Welcome, David.
Thank you. And I'm still looking for the guy that he's talking about. But there we go. Welcome, Namibia.
Thank you.
And the world.
Thank you, David. So I guess, today's discussion is part of our longer chat about what climate change is and COP26 in this context. As a bit of a recap, COP26 is a major conference having hosted this year in the UK, and it's looking to bring stakeholders from every different sector, from the heads of government to the heads of private sector, the NGO space, and people on the ground to have a quality discussion about how do we combat climate change and what are solutions that will be valuable and will have impact for the people that need it the most. Of course, in any person's home, in any person's situation, energy matters. It matters here in Southern Africa and it matters here in Namibia. And today we're going to have a chat with David about what energy means in the climate change discussion. So as we jump into it, David, maybe you can chat us and tell us a bit more about RDJ Consulting for those who aren't too familiar with it.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. And RDJ Consulting is one of the, what I would call, premier energy and sustainability consulting firms in Southern Africa, and we focus specifically on those issues. So we're extremely happy and excited to be discussing that issue. Our work tends to be those with bilateral governments and development agencies, helping the various entities carry out their energy and consulting work that they need to do. And that's it kind of in a wrap.
Yeah. And in that sense, it already sounds like you have a lot of exposure to multiple stakeholders and know sort of from the perspective of how government sees the value of energy, communities, private sector, it says. So I guess in that sense, if we can narrow down to the Namibian context, how would you describe the energy sector to Namibians who maybe never looked at it beyond sort of the bulb in their home?
Well, one of the things I'm very proud of is the fact that, first and foremost, the energy sector in Namibia is already enshrined in the Namibian constitution in terms of the sustainability aspect. And most consumers of electricity would not even realize that the bulk of the energy produced in Namibia has been sustainable from day one, in the sense of the Ruacana energy plant, which is hydro and depends on rainfall. And with the great moves that have been taking place and strides in terms of the refit program and so on, that have brought us all these solar energy plants and of course the wind plant, power plant in Luderitz, we have a really good electricity sector. Now, one of the things I want to say is that when we use the term energy sector in Namibia, it tends to focus on electricity. And what we would like to see, and I'm sure this is the wish, having read the latest presidential plan, is that we start to now look at the energy sector as a whole in terms of the liquid and gaseous fuels, that we now start to have them from a sustainable source.
Yeah. And I guess in that sense, it also speaks to, I think, how people historically have also associated energy with burning fossil fuels, right? You burn something and then energy starts to appear, or you start to heat water. And I guess a lot of that, especially in terms of burning fossil fuels, is what we want to move away from. And I guess in that sense, there is a lot of attention and hype around renewable energy, and we'll get more to specific details later, to really unpack, the myths and what's true about what is the potential of renewable energy in the country. But sort of linking energy to climate change, do you want to sort of break it down for the viewers in terms of what is that link? Why do we talk so much about energy in the discussion for climate change going forward?
Sure. one of the key factors that we have to understand, without energy there is no work. So the moment we start working or carrying out any activity, we are utilizing energy. And in terms of climate change, one of the things that we must understand is that the use of the energy that we utilize to do work produces unwanted products. And those unwanted products, unfortunately, from fossil fuels are products that then go ahead and change our natural environment. You know, increasing the temperature is one of them. One of the other things that is not really talked about that much is pollutants. So of course you have, in terms of your health is affected in terms of your respiratory system and so forth. We have pollution of waterways and all other things that can occur from the different fossil fuels that we use. And therefore that is why we tend to look at cleaner energy sources, and renewable energy fits that bill.
And I guess that's what, you know, I think us as the UK, and I'm sure yourself as well, hope people gather from this discussion. I think even as a kid myself, you know, you saw a light, and that was as far as your thinking went in terms of what energy is. But there's a whole industry to it, and like you said, the waste that sometimes goes with it, it's unbelievable. But you'd only know about it if you knew that sector existed by itself. And
if I may, some of the simple things that we could do as consumers is not to use energy if we don't need it. So leaving a light on, just for example, just to know that, okay, the room is not dark, or leaving a light on while you're watching television, which is still giving you light because you're looking at a light source, is, you know, some of the simple ways that you can do that. And to put it quite frankly, you know, if you don't need to spend a penny, don't spend one. So you will save, and at the same time you'll save the environment while you're doing it. So you'll benefit in all the ways that I can, you know, tick, 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 you've won. You know, so it is an important thing for us to understand and to push forward to.
Quite frankly, this is probably like a perfect time to be saving money. We've been in a recession for a really long time. The global economy has been going through a really difficult patch. So, I mean, if you could save money, you know, there's that extra incentive as well to you. I guess then sort of going down specifically to sustainable energy, we've already started to touch on it, right? So in that sense, we're talking about energy that doesn't have pollutants or side effects that aggravate the situation when it comes to climate change. Maybe could you sort of, in your experience, you touched a little bit on wind and electricity, and you mentioned some examples already in that space. Could you maybe help someone think about, okay, if I had to evaluate what is a clean form of energy, how would you suggest very quickly, sort of roughly, what should they think about?
Well, the first thing you'd want to think about when you're looking for something that's clean, I mean, take it, you know, as a kid who wears a white shirt and goes out to play soccer. As long as the ball doesn't touch me and I've not fallen on the ground, then you're talking about something clean. Now, the same thing happens in terms of your fuel use and that you use to provide your energy sources. And as long as you have the situation developed in a way that you can utilize this energy source and it has no long-term effects around you in the environment, then that's what you need to go for. And to sum it up quite quickly, you need an energy source that when you finish using it, there's still some left for you to use again. And so clean energy sources tend to be along that line, whereas all the other, well, let's use the term non-clean energy sources or polluting sources tend to be ones that you have to keep looking for more each time. And so we win again if we just switch.
100%. And I guess that sort of, you can narrow us down to a discussion about clean energy sources here in country. And you've already hinted at it. I mean, we have a lot of sunshine in this country. You've mentioned, Literates, that there's a lot of wind in that kind of space. And I've also heard sort of ideas about, yes, you know, there's huge opportunities and there's huge potential for investment to come in when it comes to infrastructure, job creation, etc. I think sort of in terms of the sustainability element, we want to encourage our viewers to think broadly, right? Like, yes, there's a lot of hype for something, but we need to be critical to make sure that what we're doing has sustainable benefits sort of going forward. So maybe let's start in the solar space. So maybe let's start with, what do you see as the big opportunities in the solar space in Namibia?
Well, first and foremost, because solar is available wherever you go, it's not something you need to take with you. It's something that chases after you. Once the sun comes up, it's there. Then there is the opportunity to do practically most things with solar, because solar provides energy in the thermal space, so you can heat things with it. It provides, with the current technological advances that we have, we can produce electricity with it, so we can charge our phones. We can literally charge motor vehicles and then drive off with it. We can use that for storage in battery systems and other energy storage systems, so that we have electricity later on for lighting primarily. And we also now have the opportunity to use renewable energy, so it's not just solar, for the production of gases. And hydrogen is now the buzzword in terms of that. And we can use that as a transportable gas or a transportable energy store. So Namibia in itself and globally, we're now starting to see the opportunities for us to move forward in a sustainable manner, using the significant levels of sunshine that we have, using that wide resource that we have. We are also in the middle of transport networks, so we can support our neighbors effectively and build the relationships that are necessary for global growth.
And do you sort of in your everyday, do you feel that momentum in like the people you engage with?
As a consultancy, we're cheating, because the moment we get the phone call or the interaction, it's one that will involve that discussion. So we are happy to say that we're seeing it and we're seeing more of it. And from that point of view, I'm optimistic.
No, that's good. And I think in that sense, I share your sense of optimism. Then in terms of balancing our optimism to make sure it's effective, what do you think then should people know in terms of the solar energy space, in terms of the myth that sometimes goes? Is because I think sort of historically, and I was chatting to my mom about it a while ago, they never have a thought about, when it comes to burning coal, anything like that there was a cost and there was a myth that went with it and there were consequences for that kind of energy. So how would you suggest people think about the solar energy space and make sure they think about it in a holistic way? What kind of myths or issues should people be aware of when it comes to solar energy, renewable energy in Namibia?
But like anything that deals with technology, the people who are best to deal with that would be the ones who are trained and have the information available for you. So go to a trusted source. There's quite a few trusted sources around in any country, if you ask me, that will be able to provide you with guidance where that is concerned. And that would be my first statement to say. I would also like to see that there is greater awareness raising, similar to this discussion that we're having now, where experts can be available to answer the questions. And I think we need to interact with the public more and let the public come to us with the questions and we answer them in a holistic and truthful manner. And I think, it's not something that can be policy legislated or so on.
And I like sort of that point where you're talking about how communities need to understand and be engaged in the discussion. I remember sort of at some point, I think it was last year or so, I was looking at a lot of pictures about solar energy plants being put up in very remote areas. And then they sometimes get abandoned because sometimes the community themselves, they weren't engaged from the very forefront about what this is, the value that it has to them. And then, as you quite rightly explained, you need expertise to manage these kind of things. So I completely agree that you need that local on-the-ground understanding and that engagement with technical experts like yourselves. And I hope this video somewhat contributes to that discussion.
I hope so too.
Yeah. And then I guess sort of as we come to the end of our discussion, I, honestly, David, I guess since I've met you, I've seen you somewhat of a kind of visionary. Every discussion we've had, you've always told me, in a sense, to be optimistic about the future and to the High Commission itself. How do you see the future of renewable energy in this country? And where does your mind take you when you think about the generations to come?
Well, I think I can sum it up in saying it's a runaway train that can't be stopped anymore. I think it needs to now be absorbed and handled in a way that it provides the necessary benefits for humanity going forward, and that we utilize it in such a way that we can only see progress coming forward. And I think that train has, as I said, left the station and it's on its way. So I'm positive in that regard. And in terms of the future for Namibia, and I'm very hopeful, having seen the last presidential plan. This is not a political statement, this is just one of reality, saying that it seemed to have been absorbed, and I hope it now becomes mainstream.
Yeah. And in that sense, David, I think we agree with you in that we think the government is really focusing on the importance of renewable energy. And I think both the UK and RGJ Consulting will be there to support them where necessary, 100%. And I appreciate that optimistic view. I think it captures the spirit that we want at COP26. That yes, the costs for renewable energy are going down in most places in the world. The benefits do outweigh the costs, and it is something that we need to invest in for us right now, and quite frankly for the millions of generations that are here to come.
Well, the key word with sustainability is that it's for the future. So
sustainability for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for this discussion, and thank you very much, David, for being here with us and always being available to the High Commission. I think generally to the Namibian public. I think that you are running quite a few interviews right now, so we'll try and compete for space online. Yeah. If you want to find out more about what David is doing and his company, please go to rdjconsulting.co.za. And I know David always has an open door for everyone. I might have a bias to that, and I always appreciate that. Otherwise, if you want to find out more about COP26, please go to ukcop26.com, and you can find out more information there about what COP26 is, what climate change is, and what you can do to be part of that discussion. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again, David, for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Tribe Fire Studios, and we'll see you on the next discussion. Take care.
Getting GoTV was the best decision James has ever made. See, finding a good place to watch football was never easy, but it was costly. Until one day, James discovered something big. Now he can finally enjoy the perks of home ground advantage. Get home ground advantage when you get GoTV. For just $349, you can enjoy the world's biggest leagues and cup competitions this football season. GoTV. Love it.
This month we'll have you buzzing with excitement as we summon all thrill seekers to GoTV for the ultimate experience. Go for the thrill of gathering a nation of people under one cause. Go for the thrill of a different kind of love. Or go for the sheer thrill of a fatal attraction. Stay connected to GoTV or upgrade to GoTV Max for the biggest thrills this October. Love it!
Black sunrise, always gonna be a surprise, 'cause we don't know which way it's going to go, 'cause we can see the way it's going to be, 'cause we can see.
저기 맞고. Dr. G, tell us about the day you found out you had COVID.
The day I found out I have COVID. It was a difficult day. I didn't understand how I got COVID, because I was always covered, I was always with my hand sanitizer. It came with my wife. And that whole day, I was thinking, what's gonna happen to me? I'm gonna survive. My kids, I was losing my tasting, smelling. There were some days I will test my taste buds and put like 4 or 5 chilies in my coffee. No ways. I didn't taste it.
So did you also lose your appetite in the process?
It was very funny. In the first week, no, I was chowing like I will wake up like midnight and make for me something. But after the first week, then the appetite was gone. When you go to bed, your body is also automatically switching off. And that's a dangerous time for COVID. It's like glass pinching you, cutting you inside your lungs. Then the heart was pumping like rabbit pumps. You are losing a lot of fluids at night.
Is that through fever or what?
Yeah, it's through fever.
So have you experienced any side effects from having contracted COVID-19?
No, not yet. Maybe still coming, but not yet.
And your wife?
She was complaining about light head. It's an annoying headache. It's light, but it's annoying.
So basically you didn't take any prescribed medicine from the doctor to recover from COVID?
No, I didn't. The only thing I was using is aspirin for my blood not to clot. Because for some people, when your lungs are really, really infected, your blood will start to clot from the lungs, close all the airways. That's where we are passing. I'm smoking cigarette, and when you were a smoker and COVID in your lungs now.
So then after you found out, you both found out you had COVID, what did you guys do to protect the kids?
The kids move out from the house. The booties will come, then we will collect everything for them and just put for them outside. When they came, just grab the food and go.
So what was the biggest battle for you? Was it mental or physical?
Mentally. Mentally was the biggest battle. I'm actually an international movie maker, and my career was cut off. I couldn't put bread on the table. There were some days have one meal for the day, then went to bed. And that was hitting me in my mind. What if Blessing get corona now? Where am I gonna go? Who's gonna help? There were also some people depend on us in the rural areas. We couldn't help them. My future was black, dark, dark, dark. I couldn't even see that small light at the end of the tunnel. One day, my daughter decided, now I want to see my father today. And I just told her, yeah, she can come. The first words was, Daddy, I was praying for you yesterday night. Don't worry, Corona will go back soon. And I was asking, from where? From Namibia? She said, no, not from Namibia, from you. And you are not looking good. And she was actually heartbroken. Until today, she hates Corona. From there, then I was like, oh, okay. If the smallest one is saying this, why am I not picking me up self and do the right thing and get rid of this thing? That's where I started to run, to practice, coming to my quiet place. And actually, the main thing that broke my heart during that time was there was no one. The time of COVID, there was no one.
So can you tell us where we are right now?
We are at my silent place. I call this place my silent place. I will come here when the COVID is hitting me like 120%. Looking at the ocean, then you will hear voices like, no, you don't belong here. Today, you don't belong here. Get up and go home. Some days, they will nurse you like, no, you will survive. Your future is a bright future. You must not give up now. Think about your kids, think about the people around you. Even the wind will do that. Actually, you must meditate. The thing of COVID is, looks like COVID is afraid of the warmness and is friends with the coldness. So the whole time you are baking in the sun, it helps a lot.
So is that what you did?
Yeah, I did. I will do that twice a day. This was supposed to be a golden year for me, a very, very good golden year for me, but then COVID decided, no, this is not going to be your golden year. Everything was cancelled. We, the filmmakers, this year, from the international shoots, lost lot of money.
You've lost 3 family members? Is it all due to COVID?
No, not all due to COVID. First one, my sister. She was very close to me. She contracted COVID April, and she was in ICU for 3 months. The COVID damaged her lungs, and at the stage her lungs collapsed and she couldn't breathe without the machines. Her kidneys failed, her liver has failed. COVID is real. First of all, COVID is real. It's not a joke. Most of the people, they fall away from COVID regulations. Still early to fall away from COVID regulations. We must still go in line with those COVID regulations.
And how long did you say it took you to recover?
3 weeks, 21 days.
What must somebody do to change your mind from that negative perspective to that positive?
COVID, no job, it's very dangerous. There was one day I just decided I'm gonna take a rope, go to the jetty, sit around there, and after all I will hang there by the jetty. The time I arrived here there was no wind, out of nowhere. The ocean was like angry, and it started to get cold. And I was like, but it was just nice weather. Then I sat down. Then the universe will talk with you, the wind, the sun, the ocean. That's the main thing of COVID. If you don't save yourself, no one will save you. And we must always appreciate what we have around us. That's the main thing in COVID. If you don't appreciate what you have around you, no, you lose your head.
Smile, smile, smile. When you walk with me, I just want you to smile, smile.
My industry and what I've done with my hands in Namibia, it's going all over the world, and here you are, Babaji, you want to quit? No. I'm excited for 2021. It's not gonna be the same like 2020 now. I'm back in the groove.
Give me food, clothes, water, and shelter. Nothing else, no matter. You're my moonlight in my oven. Let all my sins be forgiven. Happiness rain on me. Never let the children cry.
More than ever before, football fans demand unique insight and analysis. The Football Review is much more than a highlights show. Bold, provocative editorial that goes beyond conventional reporting, setting the agenda for football discussion. Champions League, Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, Liga 1, and much more. Want genuine insight with hard-hitting editorial? Need compelling premium football content? The Football Review. Best bar none.
Too good for my daughter. Now here's the deal, Nambi. There's no playing around with other boys before your wedding. Do you understand me? It's the most important day of your life.
Nambi, baby, you have a face like a beautiful person. I got you this Virgin Mary necklace to protect your innocence.
Stupid man. We have loved each other since high school, and now you want to turn your back on me? All the plans we made, you just throw them away? And you want Nambi now? When I've always been there for you, Ziwa, do you understand? And she doesn't even love you. I wasted my time on someone like you.
Don't be like that, Jalia.